On the Extra Point, find out about WKU's new diamond, and I'm not talking rings.
I head out to the NIC to test WKU students on their baseball knowledge at Western's home opener against Valparaiso.
And later, Matthew Stewart joins us on set to talk a little Hilltopper basketball.
That's all coming up.
Extra Point.
Thanks for joining us tonight for the Extra Point. I'm Drew Hurt.
And I'm Lexie Ratterman. It's almost the weekend, which means there's plenty of games to be talking about tonight, so we better get to it. Last week's edition of the 100 Miles of Hate featured tough outing for Hilltopper fans to watch. Reporters Will Puckett and Marcus Browning have what went down in Diddle.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, inside EA Diddle Arena for this edition of the Extra Points Report from the Court. I'm Will Puckett, and he's Marcus Browning. Now, Marcus, it was almost an exact opposite of last week's game. The Hilltoppers got off to a hot start and then cooled down all the way to the end.
And I think that the main principle from last week's game against Marshall to this week's game is the fact they weren't able to put together a full 40-minute game. And Pancake said, you know, there's no excuses, and Coach said that there's no excuses going forward. They've got to move on now to the next one and try to put something together.
Coach's biggest message was this middle team is not something to be overlooked. They're not making any excuses. They got beat on all ends of the floor.
We get hit in the mouth a little bit. We just can't stop the bleeding. Come out halftime, you're down 14 points. Championship teams do what they did. They come out and put a foot on your throat. That's what championship teams do. They put a foot on our throat. And they're good.
I just think we got to be able to play for 40 minutes, you know. I'm not really sure what. I think if we knew, we'll be able to do it. But I don't know, we'll figure it out.
They're in the SEC. They may be two best in that league. They're good.
Now, Will, it's going to be really interesting to see how the Hilltoppers go from here on out. They had a lot of momentum coming off of that Marshall close game. But now, after this truly tough loss to Middle Tennessee, it's going to be interesting to see how they go.
A 78-52 loss to Middle. However, 5 games left until conference tournament time, and they'll be back in action on Sunday at 1 o'clock against UAB here in EA Diddle Arena. For this edition of the Extra Points Report from the Court, I'm Will Puckett, and he's Marcus Browning.
Thanks for that report, guys. Now, staying with men's basketball here, after a tough loss to UAB last month, the boys bounced back in their second matchup against the Dragons. Junior Justin Johnson led the team with a career-high 26 points, while teammate Q Johnson was right behind him, scoring 22. WKU managed to win almost every category of that game, including points off turnovers and second-chance points. With the combined effort of the team, the Tops took home the win, 76-64 over the UAB Dragons.
Listen, guys, you all know this. All games count as one win and one loss. That's where they all count. But there's always points in your schedule and points in your, who you're playing, when you're playing. When you know your back's against the wall, but you just got to plant your foot and take a stand and, make a point. And here's one of those games.
If we play as a team and we continue to give out the 40-minute effort that we gave today, we'll be in good shape.
Coming off of a strong win Sunday, the WKU men's basketball team is heading out of the state for a couple of games. Just a few minutes ago, the team started their first game of the road trip against the Charlotte 49ers, who they beat last month by 2. On Saturday, they head to Virginia to face off against Old Dominion, who they lost to earlier this season. The Tops head into their last road trip of the regular season, just 2 games out of 3rd place in Conference USA. Now Matthew Stewart joins us to talk a little more men's basketball. Thanks for joining us, Matthew.
Hey ladies, how you doing? Thanks for having me.
Doing pretty good. Thanks, Matt. To continue with your favorite sport, how do you think WKU bounced back after a difficult loss to MTSU?
Well, you mentioned it earlier. They faced off against Middle Tennessee and Diddle. They're the front runner in Conference USA. It's their longtime rival. But as Coach Stansberry said, Middle Tennessee is an SEC-level talent, so it was tough for the Tops to get a win. But they did bounce back against UAB. When they played Middle Tennessee, their 2 leading scorers, Justin Johnson and Q Johnson, they combined for 13 points. Against UAB, they had 48 between the two. So when both of those guys are clicking, it's going to be a little bit difficult for teams around the conference to take down the Tops.
Now, Old Dominion and Charlotte, two teams that are coming up this weekend, but they're not the first time that the boys have seen these teams in the season. So
No,
they played them back in January.
You've got that right. Earlier this season, they faced off against Charlotte. The game went down to the final minutes. WKU pulled out an 82-80 win. And when they played Old Dominion, Justin Johnson and Q Johnson, they both had 20-point performances, but they still lost to the Old Dominion Monarchs. They're a pretty talented team. You know, last year's team, they went to the semifinals of the Conference USA tournament. They were knocked off by Trey Freeman and ODU. So it's going to be pretty tough for the Tops to put together a win against Old Dominion.
Thanks, Matthew. And you named a couple key players. Who do you think will be another key player this weekend?
Well, I've said it time and time again, so as Coach. Pancake Thomas, Q Johnson, Justin Johnson. All three of those guys, they need to have about 15 points each on the same night for the Tops to be successful. But something that you have to look for is Justin Johnson's double-double performances. If he can get 10 boards, 10 points, the Tops are pretty hard to stop.
Conference USA is coming up, the tournament rather. What do you think is going to happen there?
I mean, Conference USA is wide open. The Tops are 2 games out of 3rd place in the conference, but everybody's chasing Middle Tennessee. Like we've seen all year, they've taken off the top teams. They've taken off Ole Miss, Vanderbilt, Belmont, teams like that all across the country. Everybody's looking at Middle Tennessee to be an at-large team, not just winning the conference. So it'll be interesting to see if anyone can tackle them going into Birmingham.
With a tournament like that, it's anybody's court. Thanks so much for joining us, Matthew.
Thanks for having me, guys.
We really appreciate it. Now, just switching gears a little bit to women's basketball, they earned their first road win against arch rival MTSU last week. The Lady Tops hadn't snatched a win inside the Murphy Center for 13 years. That all changed last Thursday night. Tasia Brown led her team in offensive, scoring 25 points on the floor. Brown just one of 5 ladies who scored double-doubles in the historic matchup. The Blue Raiders' Alex Johnson led all scorers with 33 points and also pulled game's best 6 rebounds. The Tops now lead Conference USA after the victory of 82-75. Another big win for the Lady Tops basketball as they took on University of Alabama, Birmingham, Saturday. UAB led the first quarter early with 7 unanswered points, but the Lady Tops didn't let that deter them as they came back with 11 straight. Going into the first 3 minutes of the second half, neither team could find the bottom of the basket. Despite low scores, the final quarter featured 2 ties and 4 lead switches. The even bigger story of the night was watching redshirt senior Micah Jones join 2 of her teammates in the 1,000-point club. Jones is 38th for Lady Toppers member to become a member of the 1,000-point club.
We got to change up our defenses, kind of try to make sure we can slow the ball down. They are very good at getting the ball out really quick and getting up the floor and scoring quick. Not a lot of times where they'll use a whole lot of time off the shot clock. So we just need to make sure that we're locked in and focused and doing the things we need to. That was a game that we shot a ton of threes also too, and so that's something that we normally don't do. So we got to make sure we stick with our game plan.
To continue right along with women's basketball, this weekend the ladies will stay in Bowling Green to take on the Charlotte Lady 49ers and Big Blue of Old Dominion. WKU is currently riding on an 11-game win streak inside EA Diddle Arena so far this year. The Lady Tops currently lead the series against Charlotte 15-5. But despite that large lead, Michelle Clark-Hurd and company have dropped the past 2 outings, including the matchup earlier this season. That game is tonight at 7, and Old Dominion outing for senior night is this Saturday afternoon at 2.
So far, the show has been pretty basketball heavy, so why change gears now? This week, we have our hero on the hill, but it's not just one. Matter of fact, it's not even 2. It's 6 heroes on the hill.
For men's basketball, Justin Johnson, Q Johnson, and Pancake Thomas are all 1,000-point scorers. But that's not all. For the women's team, Tasia Brown, Kendall Noble, and Micah Jones also joined the club this weekend as well. Those feats earned this 6th honors week extra point hero on the hill.
Congratulations to all of you all. Now, we've been talking a lot about the court, but that's not WKU's only sport in season.
Find out how the softball ladies did last week and which opponents they'll tackle coming up.
Listen, I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you judge me for having a problem. No one is going to know that I need help. I need help. I know that no one is going to judge me for having a problem. I realize that I'm not perfect, but it all really started to change because you listen.
It's fine that other people like you. It's more important that you like yourself. And I'm comfortable with every part of me. Meals on Wheels coming to my door as someone who's housebound assures me that I'm not forgotten. They care that I'm okay. My name is Asha Ida Bell. America, let's do lunch.
Drop off a hot meal and say hello. Volunteer by donating your lunch break at americaletsdolunch.org.
Most party fouls are pretty dumb. But if you decide to drink and drive underage, you could lose your license and your freedom. Underage drinking and driving. The ultimate party foul.
Welcome back to the Extra Point. WKU baseball had a better start to their season than expected. Reporter Madison Bonzo has more from opening weekend at Nick Dennis Field.
It was a weekend of first here for WKU. WKU baseball had their home opening series against the Valparaiso Crusaders. Out of a game full of pitching changes, WKU ended its 9th inning with a walk-off homer.
Yeah, it was right there, and I think I left probably 10 guys on base tonight before that, so I needed to do something there.
Coming off of a win, WKU hoped to get another one on Saturday evening. The rest of the game wasn't quite as exciting until the 8th inning whenever there was a 2-run homer, making the score 4-2 WKU. At the end, Sal was able to close it together and have the final score 4-3 WKU. And in the final game of this 3-game series, WKU hoped for the sweep but came up just short. It was a slow start for the Toppers, but in the bottom of the 6th, WKU scored 2 runs. Those runs weren't enough for the Toppers to take the lead because in the top of the 7th, Valpo scored a home run. Even after pitching help from Connor Boyd with a sweep, WKU fell short.
Today, you know, our team was disappointed. We were trying to go to sweep the series. We weren't able to do that, but overall we learned a lot, and I think that the players understand how hard we have to work and how much work we have to do as we move forward.
You can catch the Tops back in action here at the Nick where they played Jacksonville State. For the Extra Point, I'm Madison Bonzo.
Now over the summer, WKU baseball got a field facelift. The team traded in dirt and grass for rubber pellets and synthetic materials. Our Will Puckett headed to the Nick to check out the new turf.
After the conclusion of last season, WKU's baseball's Nick Dennis Field went from this to this. A $1.3 million project to install AstroTurf as the playing surface, something WKU Athletic Director Todd Stewart said was a no-brainer.
There really are a lot of benefits to having that. I think first and foremost, it really enables our team to practice and play on a much more regular basis.
Now normally when you think of baseball, grass and clay come to mind. But after trips to both Vanderbilt and Louisville, the prospects of a turf diamond were too much to overcome.
So we wanted to kind of see firsthand what they had and talk to them and get their impressions of the advantages and if there were any disadvantages, which there weren't. And then ultimately with that information try to pull the best from each one.
The decision to switch to turf wasn't the hard part. It was the 2 months, according to Stewart, it took to install the turf. But it was worth the wait, as this year's Hilltoppers are crazy about the new Nick.
I mean, we love it. I mean, all we got to do right now is brush a little sand out of the way and we're good to go tomorrow. So no tarp pull, no anything like that. We love it.
The old saying goes, practice makes perfect, and as it should. For the coaching staff of the Hilltoppers, the main thing about this new turf is being ready for anything it may throw at you.
Well, practice, that's one thing. You know, our kids need to take as many ground balls as they can. You know, when it gets wet, the ball skips a little bit more, and you see the ball gets to the outfield a lot quicker now. So a lot of it is just reputation.
And let's be honest, the players aren't the only ones that are happy. Reporting, Will Puckett, The Extra Point.
Todd Stewart said that along with less upkeep, the turf allows WKU baseball to schedule more Power 5 teams at home.
Last night, WKU men's baseball traveled to Nashville to take on Belmont. Caleb Duckworth hit his second home run of the season, and freshman reliever Bailey Sutton pitched 2 scoreless innings. But despite efforts, the Hilltoppers fell to the Bruins 11-3. Tops are now 2-2 on the season, heading into the weekend tripleheader at home against Jacksonville State. With baseball season well underway, reporter Temple Rickey headed to the NIC to test students on their knowledge of the sport.
Can you tell me the name of WKU's head baseball coach?
I totally forgot. I don't know.
Can you tell me the name of WKU's baseball coach?
John Pulowski.
Are you sure that's how you pronounce it?
No, I'm not, but Pulowski?
No. I know like 3 or 4 players, maybe.
No. I do not know that. I can tell you the football coach's name, Mike Sanford.
Finish this sentence. The Tops haven't won a postseason game since.
It's been a while. It's a while ago. I don't know the exact. It's been a little bit. 2003? I don't know. I'm guessing. I'll say guess. 2005.
2011.
2012, so that was actually pretty close.
1999.
1997.
I'm going to go with like 2000. Do you currently know what WKU is seeded in Conference USA?
12th? I'm going to guess 3rd. 2nd.
Do you know what WKU is seeded in Conference USA?
I don't know exactly what we're seeded, but I know that we have great confidence and we're excited for the team.
I'm going to say right down the middle, so like 5th.
5th out of 12?
Sure, yeah.
Okay, would it surprise you to know that we're actually seeded last in Conference USA?
I wish it did surprise me.
Just to clarify some of those answers, the coach's name is John Pulowski. The Tops haven't won a postseason game since 2012, and they are currently seeded last in Conference USA. WKU softball remained home this past weekend to compete in the Holiday Inn Hilltopper Classic. First up to bat was Miami of Ohio, and the squad did not disappoint. Entering the bottom of the 7th was Jordan Mock, who shot a double into outfield. 2 pitches later, Taylor Proctor sent Mock home with a shot just beyond the left field fence. The Lady Tops held a 3-run comeback to defeat the Redhawks 7-6. Next up for the Hilltopper Classics, the Lady Tops took on Belmont. And it wasn't looking too good for the Hilltoppers after going scoreless for 2 of the 3 innings. WKU got it together in the 4th frame. Morgan McElroy walked to start the inning, followed by a Towers triple. Ultimately, Belmont took the day, closing the game 12-3 in the 6th.
The women on the diamond continued their Hilltopper Classic on Sunday with another doubleheader. They started the afternoon against Western Illinois, then took on Miami of Ohio again. The first game proved to be fairly easy for the Tops in the 4th inning with 2 home runs. The Tops took the game 4-1. However, the next game was a little tougher. Miami took the lead early and kept it, beating the Tops 3-1. Now, coming off of that split weekend with 2 wins and 2 losses, the ladies have a 4-day streak of games ahead of them. Today, they took on Illinois State and picked up the dub 8-2. Tomorrow, Indiana State will visit at 3 o'clock. Saturday, they have a doubleheader starting at 12:30 against IUPUI and Wright State after that. And to end the long weekend, on Sunday, the ladies go up against Austin Peay at 3. WKU softball goes into the weekend at 6-4. There might be very little football on your TV right now, but that doesn't mean the teams are taking breaks. Find out how WKU football is looking coming up.
And plenty of high school basketball district action is on its way. Find out who's still playing next.
Well, Thomas, you've got pre-diabetes. But with more exercise and a change in diet, it can be reversed.
I've tried exercising. It just makes me hungry for bacon.
I love bacon, too. And who really likes to exercise?
Not me.
Me neither.
Nobody. So we're good?
What? Oh, you still have pre-diabetes. Big time.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can stop to make sure someone is okay.
We can warn someone when their drink isn't safe.
And disrupt the situation.
We can.
Get someone the cab.
Or walk them home safely.
We can make campuses safer for our friends.
Our roommates.
Our classmates, our fellow human beings.
We cannot be bystanders.
We can. Intervene.
It's on us.
All of us.
Learn how and take the pledge at itsonus.org.
You know what, guys? There's a lot of tree branches and dry brush over here. We should probably move the bonfire over there.
I'm guessing Smokey liked that idea.
I adopted Bento in 2010 from a shelter. As it turns out, we have very similar personalities. And this cat makes me make art because he's always motivating me to take pictures of him, to draw pictures of him. He just is motivating artistically. It's just that simple. Well, he's my best friend, but a lot of people know him as Keyboard Cat.
Thanks for sticking with us through the break. Now let's talk high school basketball. It's district tournament time, which means survive in advance. For the Bowling Green Purples, they did just that against Warren East. The teams battled at Warren Central, but it wasn't much of a battle. The Purples' D'Angelo Wilson was the night's top scorer with 13 points. Those points helped boost the team above the Raiders, ending the game with a score of 83-35 and adding to the Purples' winning streak of 21 games. Bowling Green moves on to the District 14 Championship tomorrow at 6:30. Moving on to see who will join Bowling Green in the championship, the Greenwood Gators took on the Warren Central Dragons. At the end of regulation time for the game, it was tied up. Both teams went into overtime with a momentum and the drive to win, but it took more than just one overtime to decide the winner. After double overtime, the Gators pulled away with a close win of 56-53 on Warren Central's home court. The Gators' Jack Roberts helped the team big time, scoring 11 just in the second overtime. Greenwood will advance to the district tournament championship game. The 14th district basketball tournament started Monday, and the winner will be decided tomorrow. The Purples take on the Gators at 6:30 at Warren Central. Bowling Green boys are 28-2 on their season, and the Gators are 20-12. After the district championship, both teams move on to regionals, but once in regionals, only one team will advance to the state Sweet 16 tournament held at Rupp Arena in Lexington starting on March 15th. Now, he may not be the oldest player, but definitely one of the most talented on the court. Reporter Zach Lee has more on Bowling Green's 8th grade sensation.
Zion Harmon is not your average 8th grader. Zion is a starting point guard for Bowling Green High School and has been for the past 2 years. Although he is playing with people who are 4 or 5 years older than him, he doesn't let it affect him.
Really, I just look at it, we playing basketball. Age don't really matter. If you're older or younger, if you want to step on the court, you got to play. If you want to step on the court, you can't be scared. We hooping.
And he's definitely not scared. Zion is averaging 16 points a game while also averaging almost 49% from the floor. He's not just a top athlete on the court, but his coach says he's a top athlete in life.
Very respectful young man. He's been raised the right way. He's been in a gym all of his life. He understands the expectations of practice. He understands the expectations of game preparation. A very prepared young man. Comes in early, stays late.
According to Eric Hanford of JuniorFuture150.com, says Zion is, quote, without a doubt the best prospect in his class nationally right now. And Coach Sherrill agrees.
It's a significant piece of the puzzle. You know, he's playing alongside 4 quality seniors. He's got some kids, and Terry and Dee and Kyron have been in some big games. And so while he runs the point, I think that, you know, he's a piece of what we have. Of our basketball team.
Speaking of big-time games, with the Purple's rich tradition of Sweet 16 and Final Fours, Zion had this to say about potentially winning a state title as an 8th grader.
I'll be the first 8th grader to start on varsity and win a state title in the state of Kentucky. And I feel like Kentucky's the only state with one champion. So I feel like that would be big.
And I still don't think he gets really the respect of everybody, of opponents and maybe even officials, I don't know, in games, because he still is able to be manhandled a little bit and beat up. But, you know, he has to respond to that. you know, when you get that kind of attention, the rub on that is you have to be mentally and physically ready to play. And testing, is he really as good as he's supposed to be? And he's as good as advertised. Trust me on that one.
Reporting for the Extra Point, I'm Zach Lee.
You can catch Zion in action with the rest of the Purples tomorrow night.
Moving to the women's side of things, with a season record of 20-8, it's no wonder South Warren is heading to the district championship. Last night, the Spartans took on Warren Central. Their lead scorers, Jordan McDonald and Natalie Pierce, tallied 29 points. Karen Conley led defensively with 7 rebounds along with McDonald. The final score of last night's matchup was 61-34. Bowling Green took on Greenwood at Warren Central last night. Mims and Keely Murrow led Gators in points. Murrow went for a double-double but came short of 1 rebound. She ended the game with 19 points while Mims went 5 for 5 at the free-throw line. Natalia Martin and Heaven Gray were also major factors last night. They combined for a total of 22 points for the Gators. Despite the performance, Greenwood fell to Bowling Green 70-57. Now the question is, who will come out on top? With the district championship on the line, South Warren and Bowling Green will duke it out tonight for the 14th district honors, as well to see who gets a better region tournament seeding. Championship game is tonight at 6:30 for the 14th district girls basketball championship at Warren Central. The show is just about over, but we can't leave without showing you a jaw-dropping play.
Which player is soaring high above the rest when we come back?
I'll be right back. Hi. You think you're probably sober?
Yeah.
But you're thinking about taking the back roads home, just in case. If you're probably sober, then why would you do that? Good choice.
Probably okay isn't okay. If you see a warning sign, stop and call a cab, a car, or a friend.
That's a full glass of wine. I'll be chatting you later.
Don't wait. Communicate. Make your emergency plan today.
Oh, look, a redhead. Staring contest. You still got it. I know.
Come alive with the forest.
The dad was cute.
You were looking right at us.
Visit discovertheforest.org to find a forest near you.
Toppers were back at Smith Stadium this afternoon to start spring practice. This will be the team's first season under new coach Mike Sanford. In pursuit of their 3rd consecutive Conference USA championship, the Tops will return quarterback Mike White, as well as some offensive vets like Brandon Ray and Dennis Edwards. The Tops now have 13 practices left until their annual Red versus White game in April 22nd. This week's Jaw Dropper is definitely a sight to be seen, and it comes straight from the hardwood of Diddle Arena.
Let me set the scene for you. WKU's playing UAB, and in the second half, it's a pretty decent game, but Pancake Thomas wants to put a little more energy into it. Let's take a look. We've got Pancake Thomas. They're flying over top. Justin Johnson from deep misses long. Pancake out of nowhere puts that ball right back where it belongs. There's that shot long and slam. That's all it takes. They ended up winning that game 76-64.
And like we talked about earlier,
WKU's got lots of games coming up this weekend, right, Drew?
I'm pretty excited about it. We're playing UAB this weekend in Old Dominion.
It'll be a good one. That's all the time we've got for tonight, though. Thanks for joining us for the Extra Point. It's up,
and it's good.